Today, we're going to talk about something that could be controversial for some people, and that is, are plant hormones, things known as phytoestrogens, actually good or bad for you? Well, we're going to talk about what these actually do in the body, and that's the important thing to understand here is how they can benefit you by understanding what's actually occurring within the body versus just saying, oh, they're good for me or they're bad for you. You're going to have the knowledge to understand and comprehend why eating certain plant foods can be very, very beneficial. By the way, I'm Dr. Lori Marbus. I'm a board-certified family and lifestyle medicine physician who is licensed in all 50 states and also DC. So if you want to learn more about my practice, you can go to drmarbus.com. But also, quickly, there is a free Master Menopause and Feel Fabulous webinar that I'm hosting for free. Again, the link is below. Again, you'll learn the top 3 mistakes that women make during menopause and my 5-step blueprint to really how to master menopause and feel fabulous. So let's jump right into today's topic. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about how phytoestrogens work specifically in the body. So remember, phytoestrogens are plant-derived compounds. So the phyto meaning plant and the estrogen, of course, meaning kind of the hormone, right? They mimic the hormone estrogen due to their structure similarity to what we call 17-beta estradiol. That's the main female hormone that the ovaries make. There are some others, but this is the main one we're going to talk about. Now, these different phytoestrogens, they can bind to what we describe as estrogen receptors, okay? So these are particularly known as estrogen receptor alpha and estrogen receptor beta, okay? Though typically they don't bind as with great as affinity as regular estradiol. Now, the ratio of the what we call ER alpha and ER beta in various tissue really determines the specific effects of the phytoestrogens, okay? You can allow, which basically allows them to either produce more estrogenic or anti-estrogenic properties. So meaning that they're kind of acting like an estrogen or they're acting like the anti-estrogen or blocking the estrogen effect. So, but it really depends on the tissue type and then the receptor expression. So we're going to dive that into a little bit deeper. So there's some interaction with estrogen receptors, right? So number one, with the estrogen receptor alpha, now that receptor primarily promotes what we call cell growth and proliferation, especially in reproductive tissues like your breast and your uterus. Now, some phytoestrogens tend to what we call activate the ER alpha, although the effects are much, much weaker than estradiol. And we'll get back to that in a minute. And then we have the other one, the estrogen receptor beta. Now, this receptor is typically associated with what we call anti-proliferative effects, meaning it inhibits cell growth and counters the effects of the ER alpha. Okay, so phytoestrogens like genistein and datazine tend to preferentially bind to ER beta, making them really effective in tissues with higher beta expression, such as the brain, the bones, and your cardiovascular system. All right, so now let's get a little bit deeper into the tissue-specific effects of the phytoestrogens, okay? So phytoestrogens, again, act differently depending on the tissue's ER alpha to ER beta ratio. Okay, so let's talk about the breast tissue. So in tissues with high ER alpha expression, like the breast, phytoestrogens can have both an estrogenic and anti-estrogenic effect. For example, resveratrol can bind to ER alpha and act like an antagonist, blocking estradiol's ability to promote cell growth. Okay, that property is key to role inhibiting the proliferation of, let's say, breast cancer cells. Okay, that's really important. And then when we talk about your bone and brain in tissues with more of the beta receptor, what you get here is such as, again, the bone and the neural tissue, phytoestrogens promote beneficial effects like neuroprotection and bone health. So phytoestrogens acting through the beta can help maintain bone density and reduce your risk of osteoporosis. Now, there's one other thing here too. The phytoestrogens, they can act like what we describe as selective estrogen receptor modulators, meaning they can act as estrogen agonists, meaning promotion of estrogen type activity in some tissues, while again functioning as antagonists in others. So it just goes back to what we were describing. Isoflavones like the genistein and daidazine enhance bone density, improve your heart health, right? By acting as estrogen agonists in those tissues because they're binding to that beta receptor. And then they're antagonists in the breast and uterine tissue, right? So that's because they have more alpha expression. But phytoestrogens can have that anti-estrogenic effect, again, reducing the risk of the hormone-driven cancer. So they compete with your natural estrogen for binding to the alpha, and then you get this much weaker activation, like 1,000-fold less activation when a phytoestrogen is attached to the alpha receptor. Okay, so we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. So I said a little bit of the competitive binding, but we'll go into a little bit more structured explanation. So the phytoestrogens can inhibit the alpha through a few different mechanisms, and that's really, really important to understand how this reduces your risk of the excessive estrogen-driven cell growth, particularly like in your breast tissue. So number one, you have that competitive binding, right? So we talked about the genistein, the resveratrol, and the zearalenone can bind to the ER alpha, but do not activate it as strongly as estradiol. So this reduces the alpha's ability to promote cell proliferation, particularly again for estrogen-driven cancers like in breast tissue. And then there's this other thing called co-activator recruitment. So basically, phytoestrogens alter the recruitment of co-activators necessary for full gene activation by the alpha receptor. So then that decreases the ER alpha's ability to turn on genes that drive cell division and growth, right? So let's say you have the receptor and the football captain. Well, he's not able to recruit his team players to go get the job done. And then you have the dose-dependent antagonism. So the higher doses of phytoestrogens, like the zearalenone, can more effectively inhibit ER alpha, and again, blocking its ability to activate genes that lead to cancer growth. So those are the three things. What do you get? Again, just highlight the benefits. You get cardiovascular health. Phytoestrogens improve your lipid panel, right? They increase your good cholesterol and reduce your bad cholesterol, your LDL, which is very particularly beneficial for postmenopausal women or women actually entering into perimenopause, menopause. This is when you start seeing that flux start to happen. 2 is your bone health. Phytoestrogens prevent osteoporosis by promoting bone formation and then reducing bone resorption through the ER beta mediated pathways. Okay. Number 3 is breast cancer prevention. So compounds like the genistein and the resveratrol inhibit the proliferation of breast cancer cells by antagonizing the alpha activity, again, making them effective for cancer prevention. And then there's neuroprotection. So phytoestrogens can reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases by promoting neuronal survival and reducing oxidative stress, again, because these tissues are rich in your beta receptors in the brain. So what are the daily doses you should be looking to do? So let's jump right in that because that's what you guys came here for anyway. So let's talk about isoflavones, right? You can get these from soy, red clover. Again, to gain the benefits, you want to consume about 40 to 50 milligrams per day of isoflavones, such as the genistein and the daidazine. And that can be done by having 1 cup of boiled soybeans. That gives you about 90 milligrams of isoflavones. Or you can go 1 to 2 servings of tofu or soy milk, which each of those would provide about 20 to 30 milligrams of isoflavones. So for me, I have like 2 tiers of soy products. I have the whole soybean, you have the tempeh, and then you have the edamame. This is where you're going to get the majority of your isoflavones. So versus the soy milk or tofu. Now, all of it you can consume, but just know that the whole bean products are going to be the ones that give you the most benefit. And then the next is the resveratrol, right? So these basically come from grapes. So around 5 to 10 milligrams per day of resveratrol is really recommended to hit the antioxidant and the ER alpha inhibitory benefits. So some people are like, oh, I'm going to drink wine. Well, there's no benefit to drinking any alcohol. But you could eat around 100 to 150 grams of fresh red or black grapes daily. That provides about 1 to 2 milligrams of resveratrol. So again, really important that you understand that phytoestrogen works as in a different ways for cancer prevention, improving your cardiovascular health, bettering your bone density, neuroprotection, all from the food that we could consume. So basically it's soy products and, well, red grapes. There you go, guys. I hope you found that helpful. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe and hit the alert button so you'll get more information like this regularly. And there is, again, that free webinar called Master Menopause and Feel Fabulous. And I hope you found that helpful. And as always, I'm sending you gratitude for being here, and joy, love, and healing for yourself and in the world, because we all need more of that. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day. Take care.